Okay, I would like to have some quick takes on some recent issues that have been reverberating in the media in the past week or so. These are some major things that have happened in recent past that I want to comment on. And the reason I want to comment on these is that while many people have provided and are providing valuable input about these happenings, I usually feel like commenting on these things when I want to bring to attention of the people certain aspects and angles that have not been brought to light because of either being missed completely by the commentators or maybe are not being discussed in the intensity I think is demanded by those commissions or omissions. One of those things is the debate on Joe Rogan between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray. I don't actually think it was a debate in any acceptable sense of the word because the topics chosen for the debate, or at least advertised and expected among the audience, like, say, the ongoing Israel Hamas conflict and blockade or the Ukraine war, were hardly momentarily touched upon. The bulk of the time, Douglas Murray decided to lecture Joe Rogan on credentialism and running off on absolutely nonsensical and many a time self contradicting tangents whenever he could. It was so embarrassingly clear that Douglas had come on with a premeditated strategy of running out the clock. He took any off ramp to debate the substance of any issue, whether there existed one or not. He just constructed one out of thin air. It is so funny that people like him don't even care that they argue against some things just to dunk on the opponent that they know themselves have argued in favor of, and have actually been utterly outraged when someone else had used that argument against them in the past. I think one such mortifying video of Mr. Murray was found and has been making rounds on X, which is just hilarious to watch. At one point, he even ran off a tangent because a person's name rubbed him the wrong way. Anyhow, I don't want to discuss or remember every detail from that JRE episode. Much has already been said about how one sided it all was. I want to highlight just how condescending Douglas was to both Dave as well as Joe. I think because Joe was a gracious host, he was not in the right headspace to discern just how deliberately patronizing Douglas was to him and Dave. His entire spiel about how Dave was not an expert and his repeated anger at Joe for platforming people like him while Dave sat there was simultaneously hilariously ironical and demeaning to Joe. Not only his argument, but also his tone. You could cut the condescension with a knife. His faux outrage had the subtext of, "You want me, a decorated intellectual and associate editor of The Spectator, having written close to a dozen books, to debate a self taught comedian?" The last words of Theron from 300 highlighting the ingloriousness and shabbiness of the Queen come to mind. What surprised me the most was that I was thinking, does he even know who Joe Rogan is? I mean, his entire platform is based on platforming any and every expert or non expert, no matter how controversial their opinions are. It was like he was having amnesia right in front of everyone. So I think because of their graciousness, they missed just how condescending he was to them. Next time, they should be on guard for such behavior so that they can push back hard when someone disrespects them to their face. Actually, that wasn't even the funniest thing. The funniest thing was whenever he pushed a stupid position and received pushback, he retreated in lightning speed to a position which was the acceptable and default position everyone already operates from all the time, but he wanted to rail against just a moment ago. Just take his point about experts. He pointed out that Dave was not an expert. Joe said he never said he was an expert, and that should he not let people like him on? And he quickly retreated, no, no, he should absolutely have people like him on, but that he should also have experts on. And then Dave responded that the so called experts had not done a great job on the issue, which is the very reason for the existence and success of Joe's platform. And not that it needs highlighting, but Douglas himself is also considered a far right crank by many mainstream intellectuals and hardly an expert of anything. His self obliviousness was astounding. And then there was his point on talking about places and conflicts and stuff where you haven't visited. I already mentioned the embarrassing video from his past, but I think he provided the best cudgel to beat him in the future with in case he ever dares to comment on a place or a conflict his feet haven't touched the ground of. But that aside, his point in the Israel Palestine conflict was so wrong on so many levels. It's not like Israel is a place that's standing with open arms to welcome any and all visitors. It is, in fact, quite the opposite. And especially critics of the Israeli state have to face the prospect of humiliation, denial, and irrational limits to their visit if they are even allowed in at all. And since the start of this war, Israel has banned all journalists except only the few ones they think are favorable to them, like Douglas. All this point actually did was underscore how big of an Israel stooge he must have been invited and admitted by Israel during the conflict. But again, not only that, but there are a number of intellectuals and academics that have not only visited, but also who were born and raised in Israel, who are critical of Israel. A journalist, Dan Hasikots, just recently came off a visit of Israel and wrote a whole book on how it was a brutal apartheid state. And this objection was raised by him against Dave on a point that was confirmed by international agencies and did not need any anecdotal support. And just by the way, while I like Dave and appreciate his insights into things, I agree with him as much on issues as I disagree with him. But there was hardly anything he was saying that wasn't recognized internationally. In conclusion, I think we lost a great opportunity of a good debate on a critical topic because of Douglas's shenanigans. I hope Joe learned something from it and applies it in the future so that debaters can't simply run out the clock and or are disrespectful to Joe. Second thing I want to talk about is this authoritarian turn that America is taking as we speak, especially since Trump took power. Yes, there is a trade war also that he ignited, but that's something I have already discussed on my Urdu channel, as I intended it for the local audience, because the international media is already abuzz with it. I don't have anything unique to say about it for now. But I want to delve into how USA is taking an authoritarian turn, and Americans just don't know how damaging it will be to them and how quickly. We in the third world countries know a lot about it, so have much to offer in terms of prognosis and consequences. We know exactly how constitutional crises are created, as a result of which how liberties are trampled on and how dictatorship is installed in the garb of exigencies, with normalcy never to return. You might think that right now they are coming for illegal immigrants or criminals or whatever buzzword having sentimental value is invoked. But this is only the beachhead, and it never stops there. It always extends to political opponents and dissidents and even innocent critics. Due process is a bulwark against autocracy. If it is allowed to be withdrawn in one case, be rest assured it will be violated in other cases as well. Now, you might think I'm coming from a place of law and plain ethics and societal norms, etc. Yes, I am coming from all those places, but I am particularly coming from a place of Islamic prophecies as well. You see, I'm a Muslim, and Muslims have a number of specific prophecies about how the end of the world would come about. And among those prophecies that I discuss at length in my various videos that I link here are the two prophecies that are most well known among the Muslim world. And those are the descent of Jesus, peace be upon him, and his defeat of the Antichrist. I know these two prophecies are there in Christianity as well, but in Islam, we have the benefit of receiving such great details about these events that we were exactly able to find out what these symbolically represented and how they actually came about to fruition in world events. Well, I shouldn't say we Muslims were able to find out, but that I, singular, found out. While the conduct of Muslims was in line with those prophecies, but they were not conscious of those prophecies being fulfilled. It is I who discovered it personally and have been wearing it on my sleeve and announcing it from the mountaintops. So you can go watch my video that I just linked here and see for yourself in detail. But in short, just to summarize the point, America after the First and the Second World Wars was the descent of Jesus, peace be upon him, in the prophecies symbolically manifested in a state that would come to the aid of Muslims when they will be fighting against the Antichrist, which was the ideology of Marxism or communism, again manifested in the state of Soviet Union. USA helped deliver the final blow by the Muslims to the Soviets in the Soviet-Afghan War, which was decisive in bringing about the disintegration of the USSR and thereby putting an end to the global aims of communism. With its policies of allowing widespread immigration, freedom, equality, and justice, America became the shining city on the hill because of manifesting all these great attributes of human existence that were preached and inculcated by Jesus, peace be upon him. Yet, in those prophecies, it was also clearly mentioned that after the descent of Jesus, he would only stay in this world for a limited amount of time, and thereafter he would die, which symbolically represented the end of these moral values exhibited by the state. Then things would deteriorate year by year and month by month, and then from these unjust and immoral circumstances, the day of judgment would just spring forth. So that is why this authoritarian turn of America isn't only damaging in the political sense of the word, but also in a religious sense. It is a big moment for all the Muslims because we thought America was that prophesied Christ, and thus we felt pulled to align and cooperate with the US. But since the Afghan war in general, the moral decay of America is coming to a head, and now it seems that same decay is even spreading inland and affecting all state institutions and the societal norms. All is not lost yet, and the good people of America should do their best to not let this turn into a watershed moment and try to delay the prophecy as long as they can. Otherwise, we are all doomed. The third topic I want to talk about is the debate between Saboor Ahmed and Dave Farina of Professor Dave Explains. Now, I'm a fan of Dave Farina, but I must say that had nothing to do with my perception of the debate because apparently Saboor had chosen the wrong topic for the debate. And it was abundantly clear from his own presentation as well as Dave's response. As it turned out, what Saboor had actually wanted to talk about was mainly Dennis Noble's assertions that came to light in the past few years, but the topic he had mistakenly chosen was, is Darwinian evolution a fact? Saboor tried to defend his topic choice by pointing to some deeper meaning he had intended to target, all the while confirming that he had no issues with agreeing with Darwinian evolution's general definition. You can go and have a listen for yourself around the 44-minute mark of the debate. So I was like, what the hey, man? I must say I was disappointed. I sincerely hope, though, that they can get back together again to discuss Noble's assertion soon enough. Yet I'm sad that this was a missed opportunity. That's all for today from my side. I think I will do this once a week, apart from other kind of videos I do about the Quran and my periodicals such as deep takes on important topics. So I think I'll do these quick takes at least once a week as well. So stay tuned.